The sun had just begun to dip behind the tall buildings, casting a warm golden glow across the small community park where the charity event was taking place. The smell of fresh grass mixed with the scent of food from the nearby stalls. Children laughed as they ran around, their parents chatting and keeping a watchful eye. She walked through the crowd with a small notebook in her hands, feeling a little out of place. She had always been someone who preferred quiet moments and private thoughts, but today, she was here to help organize. To be part of something bigger than herself. As she moved through the groups of people, she noticed him. At first, she thought he was just another volunteer. He was tall and broad-shouldered, standing slightly apart from the crowd. His eyes were scanning the area carefully, not missing a single detail. To anyone else, it might have looked like he was making sure everyone was safe. But something in the way he looked made her heart skip a beat. There was a calmness to him, but also a quiet strength that made people feel secure just by being near him. She tried to shake the feeling off, telling herself it was silly to notice a stranger like this. Still, her curiosity got the better of her. She watched him as he helped a little boy who had tripped and scraped his knee. The man knelt down, speaking softly to the child. Offering reassurance and even a small bandage from a first aid kit he seemed to always have with him. The boy stopped crying, smiling shyly at him before running back to his mother. There was something about the tenderness in his actions that made her heart tug in a way she couldn't explain. As she walked past the food stalls, she found herself glancing at him more than once. He was moving with purpose, but not in a hurry. Whenever someone needed help, he was there, always ready, always calm. When their eyes met briefly, she felt a strange warmth spread through her chest. She quickly looked away, embarrassed by the sudden fluttering sensation. She had felt this way before, but it had been a long time, and she had almost forgotten the mix of excitement and nervousness it brought. The event was busy, with volunteers rushing to set up tables, greet guests, and ensure everything was running smoothly. She tried to focus on her tasks, arranging chairs and handing out flyers. Yet every few moments, she would catch a glimpse of him in the distance, always alert, always watching. It wasn't invasive or pushy. Somehow, he managed to stay close enough to notice her without being obvious. She wondered if he was assigned to watch over the event, like a security presence. But she couldn't shake the feeling that he was paying a little extra attention to her. A small accident at one of the stalls gave her the chance to interact with him directly. A stack of plates had toppled over, clattering loudly onto the ground. People jumped back, startled, and for a moment she froze, unsure how to react. He was there in an instant, steadying the plates and helping her pick them up. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice calm and gentle. There was no rush, no hint of impatience, just a simple, kind question. She nodded, feeling her cheeks warm. "Yes, thank you. I didn't see that coming." He gave a small smile, not too broad, but enough to make her notice it. It was the kind of smile that made you feel like everything was going to be all right, even if the world around you was chaotic. "It happens. Don't worry about it." For a brief moment they stood there together, amidst the mess of broken plates and scattered napkins. The sounds of the crowd seemed to fade, and she felt a strange connection, as if the world had paused just for those few seconds. When she looked at him again, she realized he wasn't just looking at her. He seemed to understand something about her, something unspoken. Her heart beat faster, and she quickly tore her gaze away, focusing on cleaning up the mess. The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur. She found herself thinking about him more than she expected. Every time she glanced up, she would find him nearby, helping someone, moving with quiet purpose. There was a comfort in knowing he was there, even if she didn't know him well. She found herself smiling more, laughing more easily at small jokes and interactions with other volunteers. It was strange how one person could make you feel so safe, so seen, without saying much at all. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the park, the crowd started to thin. Families left with their children, bags of leftover food, and small prizes in hand. The volunteers began packing up tables and decorations. She was tired but felt a sense of satisfaction. Today had been good. Today had been meaningful. And somewhere in the back of her mind, she kept thinking about him. When she went to return some of the supplies to the storage area, she saw him one last time before leaving. He was helping a little girl put her coat on, crouched down so he was at her level. She paused, watching the interaction. It was simple, yet it revealed so much about him: the care, the patience, the quiet strength. Her heart raced again, and she realized she had been holding her breath without noticing. She shook her head, trying to clear the dizzy feeling of excitement and curiosity before leaving. He walked over to her briefly. "Good work today," he said, offering a small nod of respect and acknowledgement. "Thank you," she replied softly, almost shyly. "You were very helpful too." He smiled again, that same small, reassuring smile. "Just doing my part. Take care." As she walked to her car, she couldn't help but replay the moments of the day in her mind. Every glance, every small act of kindness, every brief interaction made her feel something she couldn't quite put into words. She didn't know him, not really, and yet there was a connection she couldn't ignore. The city streets seemed quieter as she drove home. She found herself glancing in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see him following. Of course, he wasn't there. But the feeling that he had left behind lingered. That night, she lay in bed, unable to sleep. Her mind wandered back to the charity event, to his calm presence, to the way he had made her feel safe without even trying. It was confusing and exciting all at once. She had spent so long focusing on her own life, her own responsibilities, and suddenly a stranger had stirred feelings she hadn't experienced in years. Her heart raced as she thought about him, and she realized she wanted to know more. Not just because he was kind or strong, but because there was something deeper, something in the way he made her feel that she couldn't quite explain. Little did she know, this was just the beginning. The man she had noticed, the single dad quietly moving through the crowd, would become a part of her life in ways she could never have imagined. And while everyone else might think he was just there to protect or watch over her, only she would come to understand why her heart raced every time he was near. That simple, quiet day at a charity event had set the stage for a connection that would change her life forever, and neither of them could have predicted how much it would matter. Over the next few weeks, life carried on with its usual rhythm, but she couldn't stop thinking about him. She went about her work, met friends for coffee, and even spent quiet evenings reading at home. But the memory of that day at the charity event lingered. Every time she thought about it, she could picture his calm, reassuring presence. The small smile that seemed to make everything around it feel safe, and the gentle way he had helped others. It was a strange mixture of comfort and curiosity that pulled at her heart. She began noticing him more often around town. It wasn't as if she was actively looking for him. He seemed to appear naturally, always in places she might go. Sometimes he was at the local grocery store, quietly helping an elderly woman with her cart. Other times he was at the park, playing with his child, laughing softly, and making sure everyone around was safe. People around them would often glance and whisper, assuming he was assigned to watch over her somehow, like a bodyguard or a hired helper. They didn't know the truth, and she wasn't ready to tell them. One sunny afternoon, she found herself at the park again, reading a book on a bench while enjoying the warmth on her face. She had just settled in when she saw him helping a little girl climb up onto the swings. Her curiosity drew her eyes toward him, and she realized something new. It wasn't just that he seemed strong and protective. He had a kindness in his every action that made people naturally trust him. He didn't command attention, but somehow he held it. Even the children seemed to sense his gentle nature and gravitated toward him without hesitation. She watched quietly from a distance, feeling a strange pull she couldn't explain. Her heart raced, and she tried to focus on her book, but her thoughts kept drifting. Finally, unable to resist, she closed the book and walked over to the swings. He noticed her almost immediately, and for a brief moment, there was a pause in the world around them. She could see recognition in his eyes, a spark of familiarity. Even though they hadn't exchanged more than a few words previously. "Hello," she said softly. Unsure why she felt nervous, he looked at her and gave a small nod of acknowledgement. "Hi, nice day for the park, isn't it?" She smiled, feeling the warmth in his tone. "Yes, it is. The sun feels good after all this rain." He nodded again, and glanced down at the swings, making sure the little girl was secure. It's a good day for the kids, too. They need some time outside. They stood there for a moment, watching as children played around them. There was a quietness in the way he observed, a patience that spoke of experience and care. She realized he wasn't just protective because of any obligation. He genuinely cared for those around him. That thought made her heart beat faster. She felt a mix of admiration and intrigue. As the little girl ran back to her mother, he turned his attention to her. "How have you been since the event?" he asked, his voice calm but genuinely interested. "I've been good, busy with work and trying to stay organized," she replied. "It's been interesting. I keep thinking about that day. You were everywhere, helping everyone." He chuckled lightly, almost embarrassed by the attention. "I try. I just like seeing people happy and safe. That's all." There was a humility in his words that made her respect him even more. He didn't boast about his actions. He simply did what he felt was right. She felt drawn to him, not just because of his strength, but because of the quiet goodness that radiated from him. She realized that there was a lot more to him than met the eye, and that thought made her feel both excited and a little nervous. Over the next few days, their paths seemed to cross more often. Sometimes she would run into him at the coffee shop, and he would offer a friendly nod. Other times she would see him helping someone in need, always ready with a kind word or a helping hand. She began to notice patterns, small routines that revealed glimpses into his life. He was patient with everyone, and his focus was never on himself. She found herself wanting to know more, to understand the person behind the quiet presence she had observed. One afternoon, she decided to take a different approach. She approached him while he was at the park again, this time with a small notebook filled with ideas for a community project she had been planning. "I could use your advice," she said, trying to sound casual but feeling her heart race. He looked at her a little surprised, but his expression quickly softened. "Sure. What is it about?" She explained the project, talking about her hopes to bring more people together and create positive change in the community. He listened attentively, nodding occasionally, asking thoughtful questions, and offering suggestions that were practical yet considerate. She was impressed not only by his insight, but also by the care with which he responded. He wasn't trying to impress her or dominate the conversation. He genuinely wanted to help. As they talked, she noticed small gestures that made her feel unexpectedly connected to him. The way he leaned slightly forward, giving her his full attention. The way his eyes softened when he spoke about helping others. The way he listened with patience, never rushing her or dismissing her ideas. Her heart raced, and she realized that this wasn't just admiration or curiosity, it was something deeper. Something that made her feel alive in a way she hadn't felt in years. After a while, they said their goodbyes, but not before he added a small remark that stayed with her. "I like seeing your passion for helping others. Keep it up." His words were simple, but they carried a weight she couldn't ignore. She left the park feeling a mixture of excitement and confusion, unsure why she was so affected by someone she barely knew. But deep down, she felt that their connection was not accidental. The following week, she found herself thinking about him constantly. She would recall small details, the way he smiled at a child, the way he carefully listened, the way he seemed to carry a quiet strength without demanding attention. She realized that everyone else might assume he was there to protect her, to watch over her like a bodyguard. But the truth was different. He wasn't assigned to her. He wasn't obligated to be there. He was simply a man who cared. And somehow, it made her heart race even more. One evening, she received an unexpected message from him. It was brief, almost casual. "If you're free tomorrow afternoon, I can show you some of the places in the park I use for community activities. Could be helpful for your project." Her heart leaped. She quickly replied, agreeing to meet him. She spent the rest of the evening imagining what it would be like to walk through the park with him, to hear his thoughts, to understand his world. She felt a mix of excitement and nervous anticipation that she hadn't felt in a long time. The next day, they met at the park. He greeted her with the same calm smile, and together they walked through the paths, talking about community initiatives, small projects, and the little things that made a difference in people's lives. As they walked, she began to notice more about him, the way he moved naturally, the way he spoke softly but with authority when needed, and the quiet moments where he simply observed the world around him. She realized that this man, who everyone thought was her guard, was someone with depth, someone who had a story of his own, and someone who made her heart beat in ways she didn't fully understand yet by the time they parted. She felt a sense of connection she had never experienced before. She realized that she was no longer just curious about him. She wanted to know him, not as someone who protected her, but as a person she could trust, admire, and maybe even care for deeply. And while she didn't yet understand the full extent of her feelings, one thing was clear: this was the beginning of something meaningful. A connection that was growing quietly but surely. With every shared glance, every conversation, and every moment spent in each other's presence. As the days passed, she began to notice more about him than she had before. It wasn't just his calm and quiet strength that drew her in. It was the little things that revealed the depth of his character. She saw the way he carefully packed a small lunch for his child, making sure there were enough snacks and a little note tucked inside the bag. She noticed how he patiently listened to the questions and stories of the children he encountered, giving them his full attention without ever seeming rushed. These details painted a picture of a man who had a heart bigger than what most people saw on the surface. One morning, she decided to visit the park early, hoping to catch a moment of quiet before the day got busy. As she walked along the path, she saw him sitting on a bench, sketching in a notebook. She paused, curious. He looked up and smiled when he noticed her, gesturing for her to join him. "Good morning," he said warmly. "Good morning," she replied, feeling a flutter of excitement in her chest. She sat down beside him, noticing the sketches in his notebook. They were small drawings of the park children playing, trees swaying in the breeze, and people walking their dogs. It was simple, yet beautiful. "These are amazing," she said. "You captured so much in such a small space." He shrugged modestly. "It helps me slow down and notice things. Life moves fast, and sometimes it's good to pause and see the details." She nodded, understanding exactly what he meant. It wasn't just about the drawings. It was the way he approached life. He paid attention, cared for those around him, and took time to be present. These qualities made her heart race in ways she hadn't felt in a long time. As they talked, she learned more about his daily life. He was a single dad, raising his child alone, balancing work, parenting, and his own personal time with remarkable dedication. He spoke about the challenges, but also about the joy small moments like hearing his child laugh, seeing them learn something new, or simply sharing a quiet meal together. There was no complaint in his voice, only honesty and pride. She found herself opening up as well, sharing parts of her life she hadn't shared with many people. She spoke about her work, her dreams, and her fears. There was a trust that developed naturally between them, a feeling that they could talk without judgment. Each conversation brought them closer, and she realized that her admiration was growing into something more, a connection that went beyond surface-level attraction. During a quiet moment, he shared more about his life as a single dad. He spoke of the challenges he faced, the sleepless nights, the sacrifices, and the constant balancing act of work and parenting. Yet, his voice never carried bitterness or complaint. Instead, it was filled with a quiet pride and acceptance of his responsibilities. She felt her respect deepen, realizing that his strength was not only in what he did, but in how he approached life with honesty, resilience. In an open heart, they shared lunch in the small break room, talking about personal dreams and experiences. She found herself opening up more than usual, sharing stories of her childhood, her aspirations, and even her fears. He listened attentively, never interrupting, and offered thoughtful responses that showed he truly understood her. In that small space, away from the noise of the world, they connected in a way that was deeply personal and human. Her heart raced as she realized that their bond had grown beyond casual admiration or friendly interest. It had become a quiet, powerful connection built on trust, respect, and understanding. As the afternoon drew to a close, she helped pack up the materials and clean the space. They walked together outside, the sun breaking through the clouds after the rain, casting a warm glow over the park. They paused at the edge of the playground, watching the children play, and she felt a sense of contentment she hadn't felt in years. "You've built something wonderful here," she said softly, looking at him. "The kids are lucky to have you." He looked at her, his expression calm but thoughtful. "I just try to do what I can. It's not about recognition, just about being there when it matters." Nodded, understanding exactly what he meant. Her heart raced as she realized that the connection she felt with him was similar, quiet, steady, and built on genuine care rather than superficial attraction or circumstance. She felt a sense of gratitude for having him in her life, even in these early stages. That evening, as she walked home, she reflected on everything she had seen and experienced over the past few weeks. She thought about his calm strength, his kindness, and the way he made her feel seen and valued. She realized that her heart raced not because of danger or excitement, but because of the depth of the connection she was beginning to feel. It was a bond that went beyond appearances, assumptions, or the opinions of others. She understood that what they shared was real, human, and profoundly meaningful. In the days that followed, their interactions continued to grow, each moment adding layers to their relationship. She noticed small acts of care and attention that revealed the essence of who he was, a man who lived with integrity, compassion, and quiet strength. She began to recognize that her feelings were evolving into something deeper than friendship or admiration. They were rooted in respect, trust, and a genuine desire to be part of each other's lives. One evening, after a long day of work, they found themselves sitting together in the park, sharing a quiet conversation under the fading light of the setting sun. She realized that she had come to trust him deeply, not just for his actions, but for the way he made her feel understood, valued, and safe. Her heart raced as she acknowledged the depth of her feelings. Understanding that what she experienced was rare, meaningful, and worth exploring, she knew that others might continue to make assumptions about him, believing he was simply her protector. But she understood the truth that he was more than that, and their connection was far richer and more personal than anyone could see. Her heart raced, not from fear or obligation, but from the growing awareness of love, admiration, and trust that had quietly blossomed between them, creating a bond that was strong, subtle, and full of promise. As the weeks turned into months, their bond grew stronger, moving quietly from friendship into something deeper. She noticed how naturally they fit into each other's lives, sharing laughter, small gestures of care, and moments of silence that didn't feel empty, but comforting. She had never experienced a connection quite like this. There was a sense of trust and understanding that went beyond words, and her heart raced each time she realized just how important he had become to her. People around them continued to make assumptions. Friends would comment on how close they seemed, and strangers sometimes whispered that he must be her protector. She would smile politely, never correcting anyone. It was a private truth between them, one that was not about duty or obligation, but about genuine connection, respect, and admiration. Her heart raced because she had come to understand the man beneath the calm, strong exterior, and that understanding had grown into something much more profound. One Saturday, they spent the day at the local community center, organizing an event for children and families. She watched him interact with everyone, his presence calm and steady, yet full of warmth. The children loved him. They laughed and played under his watchful eye. Parents thanked him quietly, appreciating the care he showed without ever seeking recognition. She felt a sense of pride and admiration for him, realizing that his strength was not in being seen or acknowledged, but in the quiet impact he made on the lives around him. During a short break, they walked outside together, the autumn air crisp and fresh. The leaves swirled around their feet as they strolled in silence for a few moments. She noticed the subtle ways he made her feel safe and valued the small gestures. The way he listened without judgment, the gentle encouragement he offered whenever she shared ideas. Her heart raced, and she felt a mix of excitement and comfort, knowing that their bond had grown into something meaningful and real. "I'm glad we get to do this together," she said softly, breaking the silence. "It feels right, being here with you." He glanced at her, a small, warm smile on his face. "I feel the same. It's nice to have someone who cares as much as I do." She felt a wave of warmth, her heart racing at the simplicity and honesty of his words. It wasn't grand gestures or dramatic moments that had drawn her to him, but the consistent, quiet care he showed every day. She realized that this was rare, someone whose actions and intentions aligned so seamlessly, someone whose presence could make the world feel steadier and more meaningful. As the event came to an end, they packed up together, sharing small laughs and playful moments. She noticed how naturally they moved in sync, understanding each other without needing to speak. There was a sense of ease, a comfort in being with him that she hadn't known she was missing until now. Her heart raced, not from tension or anxiety, but from the realization that this connection was real, deep, and rare. Later, as they walked through the quiet streets toward her home, the city lights reflecting on wet pavement after a light rain, she felt a sudden awareness of how much she had come to rely on his presence in her life. It was more than friendship. It was admiration, respect, and a growing affection that she couldn't ignore. She glanced at him, noticing the calm strength in his expression, and felt her chest tighten with emotion. "You know," she said softly, "everyone seems to think you're here to protect me, like some kind of bodyguard." He chuckled lightly, a sound that warmed her from the inside. "I know. People like to make assumptions, but that's not why I'm here." She looked at him, her curiosity piqued. "Then why are you?" He paused for a moment, choosing his words carefully. "I'm here because I care. Not because I have to, but because I want to. You matter to me, and I want to be present in your life in a meaningful way." Her heart raced, faster than it had in months. The honesty and sincerity in his words touched something deep inside her. It wasn't about safety or appearances. It was about connection, trust, and genuine care. She felt a rush of emotions, relief, excitement, and a deep, growing affection that she could no longer deny. Over the following weeks, they continued to share moments that strengthened their bond. They would meet at the park, plan small community projects, or simply walk and talk, enjoying each other's company. She noticed the little things: how he remembered her favorite coffee, how he would check in on her after a long day, and the way he encouraged her to pursue her passions. Each gesture, small or large, made her heart race. She realized that she had fallen deeply for him. One evening, after a long day, they sat together on a quiet park bench, watching the sunset. The sky was painted with shades of orange and pink, and a soft breeze rustled the leaves around them. She felt a sense of peace and belonging she hadn't experienced in years. She turned to him, her heart racing, spoke from a place of honesty and vulnerability. "I didn't expect to feel this way," she said softly. "I didn't know that someone could make me feel so understood, so safe, and yet so alive at the same time." He looked at her, his expression gentle and understanding. "I feel the same. You've brought something into my life that I didn't know I was missing. It's not just about being here for you, it's about sharing this life together, learning from each other and caring for each other." Her chest tightened with emotion, and she felt tears prick her eyes, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming sense of connection and understanding. She realized that what they shared was rare and precious, a bond built on trust, care, and genuine affection. Her heart raced with a mixture of excitement, relief, and love. One afternoon, she found herself invited to his home, something he suggested casually, but with a warmth that made her feel welcome. She had never been in his world, and she was curious. When she arrived, she was greeted by the sound of laughter and playful chaos. His child ran up to her, hugging her tightly, and she felt an immediate sense of belonging. The home was modest but cozy, filled with warmth and care. Every detail, from the carefully arranged furniture to the small toys scattered around, told a story of love and devotion. Over tea, they talked about life, parenting, and personal experiences. She noticed the pride in his eyes when he spoke about his child, the dedication in his tone when he discussed daily responsibilities. There was a softness to him that contrasted with the strength he showed in public. She found herself drawn to this balanced man, who could be both gentle and strong, both playful and serious. Her heart raced, not out of fear, but out of admiration and an unspoken connection that grew stronger with every moment. As she left his home that evening, She walked through the quiet streets feeling a mixture of emotions. There was excitement, curiosity, and a growing awareness of her own feelings. She realized that she had never met someone like him before, someone who could make her feel safe, seen, and inspired all at once. It wasn't just about attraction. It was about respect, understanding, the deep connection that had begun to form between them. In the following weeks, their interactions became more frequent. They met at the park, shared coffee at a small cafe, and occasionally spent quiet afternoons planning community projects together. Each encounter revealed new layers of his personality, the patience, the kindness, the unwavering support he offered to those around him. She began to understand that the strength she had noticed initially was only part of who he was. The real essence of him lay in the care and thoughtfulness he poured into every action. One rainy afternoon, they found themselves caught under a small shelter in the park. The rain was gentle, and the sound of raindrops created a peaceful backdrop. They stood close, talking quietly about the projects they wanted to implement and the people they hoped to help. She noticed the way he listened, the way he valued her ideas, and the subtle ways he made her feel appreciated and understood. It was a rare kind of connection, one that was both comforting and exhilarating. During this time, she also began to notice the assumptions of others. People would comment on their closeness, often assuming he was there to watch over her, as if she needed protection. She would smile politely but didn't correct them. They didn't understand the truth that he wasn't assigned to her, wasn't obligated to be there. He was simply a man with a kind heart. And their connection had grown naturally from shared moments, mutual respect, and genuine care. Only she understood why her heart raced when he was near. One evening, after a long day of planning and community work, they found themselves walking together through the quiet streets. The city lights reflected off the wet pavement, creating a serene atmosphere. They talked about personal dreams, childhood memories, and hopes for the future. There was a comfort in their conversation, a sense of ease that allowed them to be themselves without pretense. She realized that she had come to trust him deeply, not just for his strength and kindness, but for the way he understood her in ways few people had. As they reached the park entrance, they paused. The air was cool, and the gentle rustle of leaves added a soft background to the moment. She looked at him, and for a brief second, everything else seemed to fade away. There was no crowd, no noise, no assumptions, just the two of them, sharing a quiet, unspoken understanding. Her heart raced, and she felt a warmth that went beyond simple attraction. It was a connection rooted in respect, admiration, and the realization that they were both slowly becoming a part of each other's lives. That night, she lay in bed. She reflected on the past few weeks. She thought about the small gestures, the thoughtful actions, and the quiet strength that defined him. She realized that her feelings were growing stronger, not because of a fleeting attraction, but because she had come to understand and admire the depth of his character. She felt a sense of anticipation for the moments yet to come, eager to see where this connection would lead, knowing that what she felt was genuine, meaningful, and rare. She didn't know what the future held, but she felt a sense of peace and excitement about the journey ahead. The man everyone thought was her guard had become someone much more significant in her life. Only she knew the truth. Her heart raced not out of fear, but because of the genuine connection, trust, and admiration that had quietly blossomed between them, creating a bond that was strong, subtle, and full of promise. One rainy evening, she was walking home from work when she noticed a commotion on the street. A man had slipped and fallen on the wet pavement, and a small crowd had gathered, unsure how to help. Without thinking, she ran forward, and just as she reached the scene, he appeared from across the street. He moved with calm urgency, kneeling beside the man and carefully checking if he was okay. She watched, amazed at his composed manner. He spoke softly to the man, offering reassurance and calling for help when necessary. She felt a sense of admiration and something more, a rising feeling in her chest she couldn't quite name. She wanted to help, but she realized she could simply observe and learn from how he handled the situation. It was clear that his protective nature wasn't just for show, it was a reflection of who he truly was. After the man was safely assisted and taken by the ambulance crew, he turned to her, his expression softer now. With a hint of a smile, "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice calm and steady. "Yes," she replied, still catching her breath. "You handled that so well." He shrugged lightly, as if it was nothing extraordinary. "It's just what I do. We all help when we can." They walked together under the shared umbrella, talking quietly as the rain fell around them. She noticed that despite the chaos of the moment, he remained composed, aware of everything and everyone, but never losing his gentle touch. She realized that his strength was not just physical or protective. It was emotional, moral, and deeply human. She felt her heart race in response, understanding that this man was someone rare, someone whose presence alone could make the world feel steadier. That night, she couldn't stop thinking about the incident. She realized that her feelings were no longer simple admiration or curiosity. They had grown into a deep respect and attraction that she hadn't expected. She thought about his kindness, his patience, and the way he seemed to put others first without needing recognition. Her heart raced at the thought of him, and she found herself longing to know more about him, to be closer, and to share in the life he had built with such care. Over the following days, she noticed the subtle ways he cared for people in his life. He would check in on neighbors, carry groceries for someone struggling, or help a friend with small but meaningful tasks. Every time she observed him, she felt that same mixture of admiration and excitement. She realized that everyone around them might assume he was her protector, but the truth was far more intricate. He was simply a man who lived with integrity, kindness, and an unwavering sense of responsibility. Her heart raced because she recognized and valued these qualities, not because of fear or danger. One afternoon, she received a text from him. "Would you like to come by tomorrow? I could show you how I organize some activities for the kids at the community center." She smiled, feeling her chest warm with anticipation, and quickly agreed. She felt a sense of eagerness to spend more time with him, to see more of his world, and to understand the person behind the quiet strength she had admired from afar. When she arrived at the community center the next day, she was greeted by the laughter of children and the soft hum of activity. He was there, setting up a small craft table with care, making sure every child had enough supplies. He glanced up, saw her, and offered that same calm, reassuring smile that made her heart skip a beat. She joined him, helping arrange materials, and found herself absorbed in the energy of the room and the quiet joy of his presence. As they worked together, she noticed the way the children naturally gravitated toward him. He had a gentle authority that made them feel safe and valued. He listened to their stories, offered encouragement, and celebrated their small achievements. She couldn't help but feel drawn to him, not just because of his care for the children, but because of the way he carried himself with humility, patience, and genuine love. Her heart raced every time she caught his gaze, feeling a connection that was both comforting and thrilling. In the days that followed, their relationship blossomed naturally. They spent more time together, supporting each other in daily life, celebrating small victories and navigating challenges with patience and understanding. Her heart raced not from fear or uncertainty, but from the realization that she had found someone who truly understood her, who valued her, and who cared deeply for her well-being. Friends and neighbors continued to make assumptions, thinking he was her protector, but she knew the truth. She understood the depth of his character, the sincerity of his intentions, and the genuine affection that had grown between them. Her heart raced because she recognized the rare and meaningful connection they shared, bond that went beyond appearances and assumptions, built on trust, care, and the quiet strength of two people who had found each other in an unpredictable world. As they walked hand in hand through the park one evening, the autumn leaves crunching beneath their feet, she felt a profound sense of gratitude. She had discovered not just love, but a connection rooted in understanding, respect, and shared humanity. Her heart raced, not from uncertainty or fear, but from the joy and warmth of knowing that they had found something extraordinary together. The man everyone assumed was simply her guard had become so much more a partner, a confidant, and the person who made her heart beat with a quiet, powerful certainty that this bond was meant to last. Life continued to unfold around them, filled with the small moments that made their connection stronger each day. She noticed how naturally he integrated care and thoughtfulness into everything he did. Whether it was in his work, parenting, or their relationship, every shared meal, every walk through the park, and every conversation strengthened the bond that had quietly grown over the months. Her heart raced each time she realized just how much she depended on his presence, not in need, but in joy and trust. One sunny afternoon, they decided to spend the day at the city's botanical gardens. The gardens were alive with color, flowers in full bloom, and birds singing in the trees. She felt the warmth of the sun on her face, and with him beside her, the day felt calm yet full of energy. They strolled along the winding paths, pausing to admire a particularly striking flower or watch a butterfly flit by. It was a simple outing, but in the presence of someone who truly cared, simplicity became beautiful. Her heart raced with quiet excitement, a mix of contentment and anticipation. They found a quiet bench near a small pond, where they sat together, watching ducks glide across the water. He gently brushed a stray leaf off her shoulder, and she looked at him, feeling a warmth that had become familiar yet never lost its intensity. The connection between them felt effortless, as if they were in tune with each other's thoughts and feelings without needing to speak. She realized that this closeness was something rare, something that could not be forced or found, as Aaliyah had grown naturally, quietly and profoundly, over lunch at a nearby cafe. They shared stories from their childhoods, laughing over small memories and reflecting on experiences that had shaped them. He spoke about moments of challenge and joy in raising his child, and she felt admiration for the way he handled life with honesty, patience, and love. She shared her own stories, opening her heart in a way that felt safe and welcomed. Each story, each shared moment, added depth to their connection. Her heart raced, not from nervousness, but from the joy of being understood and valued by someone who genuinely cared. As the day drew to a close, they walked back through the gardens, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows and bathing the flowers in golden light. They paused at a small fountain, watching the water shimmer and sparkle. He reached out and gently took her hand, holding it in a way that felt natural and affirming. She squeezed his hand in return, feeling a surge of emotions, gratitude, affection, and the certainty that this relationship was real and significant. Her heart raced, not from uncertainty, but from the recognition that she had found someone she could truly trust and cherish. In the weeks that followed, their relationship deepened in meaningful ways. They worked on community projects together, supported each other through challenges, and celebrated small victories. She noticed the subtle ways he made her life brighter, the early morning texts to check if she had slept well, the small gestures of help with errands, and the gentle encouragement in pursuing her dreams. Each act, no matter how small, reinforced the connection and trust that had blossomed between them. Her heart raced whenever she thought of him, a steady reminder of the warmth and love that had entered her life. One evening, after a long day of community work, they found themselves sitting together on a quiet park bench. The city lights reflected off the wet pavement after a light drizzle, creating a serene atmosphere. They shared stories of hopes and dreams, fears and ambitions, and found solace in each other's understanding. She realized that this relationship had grown into a partnership built on mutual respect, care, and genuine affection. Her heart raced with the awareness that she had found someone rare, someone whose presence made her feel alive, safe, and truly valued. During a visit to his home, she witnessed more of the life he had built with his child. She saw the love, dedication, and patience he poured into every moment, from preparing meals to helping with homework. His devotion was quiet but powerful, a reflection of his character and the values he held dear. She felt her admiration deepen, her heart racing with a mix of affection and respect. It wasn't just his strength or kindness that drew her. It was the way he lived his life with integrity, compassion, and thoughtfulness. One weekend, they decided to take a short trip to the nearby countryside. The landscape was lush and green, with rolling hills and quiet streams. They spent the day hiking, laughing, and sharing quiet moments of reflection. She felt a sense of freedom and joy in his company, realizing that their connection allowed her to experience life more fully. Her heart raced with excitement, not from adventure or risk, but from the simple pleasure of being with someone who understood and valued her. Back in the city, they continued to build their life together. Friends and neighbors still assumed he was simply her protector, but she knew the truth. Their bond was far deeper, rooted in mutual respect, understanding, and a shared sense of care. She noticed the way he looked at her, the small gestures of affection, and the moments of quiet support that spoke volumes. Her heart raced because she recognized a love that was real, meaningful, and enduring. One evening, as they walked hand in hand along a quiet street, she paused to look at him. "Do you realize how much you've changed my life?" she asked softly. He smiled, squeezing her hand gently. "I think we've changed each other in ways we didn't expect. It's not just about protection or support, it's about being present, caring, and growing together." Her chest tightened with emotion, and she felt tears prick her eyes. Her heart raced with the overwhelming awareness that she had found someone who truly understood her, valued her, and wanted to share life with her fully. It was a connection built on honesty, trust, and deep affection. And she knew it was something rare and precious. As the months turned into a year, their relationship continued to flourish. They celebrated birthdays, achievements, and simple moments of daily life together. She observed the depth of his commitment as a parent and a partner, and her heart raced with admiration and love. They faced challenges, of course, but they met them together, communicating openly and supporting each other with patience and understanding. One quiet evening, they sat together on the balcony of her apartment. Watching the city lights twinkle in the distance, she rested her head on his shoulder, feeling the warmth and strength of his presence. Her heart raced with a mix of contentment, gratitude, and love. She realized that the man everyone assumed was simply her guard had become the person who made her heart beat with joy, the partner she had come to trust, and the companion she wanted by her side for the rest of her life. In those quiet moments, she understood that their connection was not built on appearances, assumptions, or expectations. It was built on the simple, human truths of care, respect, trust, and love. Her heart raced, not from uncertainty, but from the profound realization that she had found something extraordinary, a bond that was genuine, enduring, and filled with the promise of a shared future. And in that understanding, she felt a deep sense of peace, knowing that their hearts had found each other in a world that often overlooked the quiet, beautiful moments that truly mattered.